There are people in your life who never raise their voice, yet somehow you always feel smaller after talking to them. They never order you around, yet your decisions slowly stop feeling like your own. And the terrifying part is this: the most dangerous manipulators are not the loud ones. They are the quiet ones, the ones who smile gently, the ones who make you trust them before they slowly reshape your mind from the inside. Maybe you've met someone like this before, a friend who made you doubt your own memories, a partner who made you feel guilty for having boundaries, a parent who controlled your choices while calling it love, or perhaps someone who always seemed calm while you became more confused, anxious, and emotionally exhausted around them. At first, you don't notice it, because silent manipulation does not feel like control in the beginning. It feels like care, attention, protection, understanding. That's what makes it so dangerous. It enters your life disguised as safety, while quietly stealing your freedom. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." That is exactly how silent manipulators operate. They work in the unconscious, not through force, but through emotional conditioning. And one day, you wake up realizing something horrifying. You no longer know whether your thoughts are truly yours. In this video, we are going to uncover the hidden psychology behind people who control others without being noticed, the subtle behaviors, emotional traps, and invisible tactics they use to shape your reality while keeping their hands clean. Because once you learn to recognize the silent manipulator, you will never look at certain people the same way again. Part 1. The manipulator makes you doubt yourself. The silent manipulator rarely attacks you directly. They do something far more sophisticated. They slowly weaken your trust in your own mind. At first, it happens in tiny moments. You remember a conversation clearly, but they insist it happened differently. You express hurt, but somehow you end up apologizing instead. You confront their behavior, and suddenly the focus shifts onto your overreaction. This is not accidental. It is psychological erosion. Like water slowly carving through stone, they chip away at your certainty until you begin questioning your own perception of reality. And once a person no longer trusts themselves, they become easy to control. This is why gaslighting is one of the favorite weapons of silent manipulators. Not because they want to win an argument, but because they want authority over your reality. A healthy person helps you feel clearer. A manipulator makes you feel mentally foggy. And the frightening part is how subtle this becomes over time. They may say things like, "You're imagining things. You're too sensitive. That never happened. You always misunderstand me." Notice the pattern. The problem is never their behavior. The problem becomes your perception. Eventually, you stop listening to your instincts because you've been trained to distrust them. Nietzsche once wrote, "I'm not upset that you lied to me. I'm upset that from now on I can't believe you." But manipulation goes even deeper than broken trust. The silent manipulator makes you unable to believe yourself. And this creates emotional dependency. Because once you no longer trust your own judgment, you begin relying on theirs. You ask them what to think, how to feel, whether your emotions are valid, whether your memories are accurate. Without realizing it, your inner compass has been replaced by their approval. This is why many victims of manipulation feel spiritually exhausted. Their mind is constantly fighting itself. One side whispers, "Something feels wrong." The other side says, "Maybe I'm just overthinking." That internal war is exactly where the manipulator wants you, because confused people are easier to lead than confident ones. And perhaps the most tragic part, many manipulators do not even look cruel. They may appear intelligent, calm, emotionally mature, even caring. But beneath that calm surface is an invisible hunger for psychological control, not through domination, but through distortion. And the moment you begin apologizing for your own intuition, the manipulation has already begun. Part 2. The manipulator. slowly isolates you from yourself. Silent manipulators rarely begin by separating you from other people. First, they separate you from yourself. Your confidence becomes quieter, your personality becomes smaller, your voice becomes cautious. You start filtering your words before speaking. You rehearse conversations in your head. You become hyper-aware of their reactions, moods, disappointments, and silent judgments. Without noticing it, your nervous system begins orbiting around them, and this is how emotional control truly works. Not through chains, but through conditioning. The manipulator studies what makes you feel accepted and what makes you feel guilty. Then they reward one version of you while punishing the other. When you obey, they become warm. When you resist, they become distant. And because human beings are emotionally wired for connection, your mind begins adapting itself for survival. You slowly become the version of yourself that causes the least conflict. This is why manipulated people often say things like, "I don't even recognize myself anymore," because manipulation is not only about controlling your choices, it is about reshaping your identity. Carl Jung believed that the greatest danger is unconsciousness, because what remains hidden controls us from beneath the surface. And silent manipulators thrive in that hidden territory. They do not announce their control. They make you participate in it. That is the horrifying genius behind psychological manipulation. You think you are choosing peace, when in reality you are abandoning parts of yourself to avoid emotional punishment. And over time, the isolation deepens. You stop sharing certain thoughts with friends because they wouldn't understand. You stop pursuing hobbies that once made you feel alive. You stop expressing emotions honestly because every disagreement somehow becomes exhausting. The manipulator may even disguise this isolation as intimacy. It's us against the world. No one understands you like I do. You only need me. At first, this feels romantic, safe, protective. But slowly, your emotional world becomes smaller and smaller, until their voice becomes louder than your own inner truth. This is why manipulated people often feel lonely, even when surrounded by someone constantly. Because real connection expands you. Manipulation shrinks you. The ancient philosopher Lao Tzu once said, "When you are content to be simply yourself and don't compare or compete, everyone will respect you." But manipulators fear people who are fully themselves. A person connected to their identity is difficult to control, so the manipulator creates subtle emotional consequences for authenticity. If you become too independent, they withdraw affection. If you gain confidence, they criticize you. If you set boundaries, they act wounded. Everything becomes psychological pressure disguised as emotion, and eventually you begin abandoning yourself before they even ask you to. That is when the control becomes complete, not when they force you, but when you start policing your own soul on their behalf. And perhaps the saddest realization of all. Many people spend years believing they are keeping the relationship together, when in truth they are slowly disappearing inside it. Part 3. Guilt. The invisible weapon of the silent manipulator. This is why guilt is one of the most powerful psychological weapons ever created. Because fear makes people run, but guilt makes people stay. The manipulator understands something deeply unsettling about human nature. Most good-hearted people would rather suffer quietly than risk hurting someone else. And so they use your empathy against you, not openly, subtly. Every time you try to create distance, they suddenly become fragile. Every time you speak your truth, they act wounded. Every time you prioritize yourself, they make you feel selfish. Notice the pattern carefully. Your boundaries become their pain, and because you care, you begin questioning yourself. Maybe I'm too harsh. Maybe I should be more understanding. Maybe I'm the problem. This is the psychological trap. The manipulator reframes your self-respect as cruelty. And over time, guilt becomes the leash they never have to physically hold. This is why many manipulated people feel emotionally exhausted all the time. Their nervous system is trapped in constant moral conflict. They are not only managing their own emotions, they are carrying responsibility for someone else's emotional stability too. And that burden slowly crushes the soul. Buddha once taught, "You yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection." But manipulators quietly train you to believe the opposite. They teach you that your needs are dangerous, that your boundaries are selfish, that your independence is betrayal, and perhaps the darkest part, they often do this while appearing kind. They may never scream, never insult you directly, never appear abusive to outsiders. Instead, they master emotional implication, the sigh after you say no, the silence after you express a boundary, the sadness they display when you choose yourself. These small emotional signals become psychological conditioning. Like a dog trained through rewards and punishments, you slowly learn which behaviors keep the emotional peace and which bring emotional discomfort. So eventually, you stop choosing what feels true. You choose what avoids guilt. And this creates a terrifying transformation inside a person. You become disconnected from your own desires, your own instincts, your own truth. You begin living as an emotional caretaker instead of a human being. This is why silent manipulation is so difficult to recognize, because on the surface it can look like love. But real love does not punish you for having boundaries. Real love does not require self-erasure. Real love does not make you feel guilty for protecting your peace. The philosopher Epictetus once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." And guilt-based manipulation steals that mastery from you, not by force, but by emotional obligation. You become imprisoned by the fear of disappointing someone. And one day you realize something heartbreaking. You have spent so much time trying not to hurt them that you allowed yourself to be destroyed quietly instead. Part 4. The moment you wake up changes everything. There comes a moment in every manipulated person's life when something inside them finally whispers, "This is not love anymore." It is a quiet realization, not dramatic, not explosive, just a painful clarity that slowly rises from deep within the soul. You begin noticing how exhausted you feel after every interaction, how anxious you become before speaking honestly, how guilty you feel for simply wanting peace. And then the most important question finally appears. Why do I feel less like myself around this person? That question is the beginning of freedom, because manipulation survives through unconsciousness. The moment you become aware of the pattern, the illusion starts collapsing. Suddenly the confusion makes sense, the emotional exhaustion makes sense, the constant self-doubt makes sense. You realize it was never weakness. You were slowly being psychologically trained to abandon yourself. And here is the painful truth many people avoid. Silent manipulators often choose deeply empathetic people because empathy makes control easier. You forgive longer, you tolerate more, you search for goodness even inside harmful behavior. But healing begins when empathy is balanced with awareness. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." And that journey becomes impossible when your identity depends on someone else's emotional approval. So the first step toward freedom is terrifyingly simple. Start trusting your inner voice again. Not every feeling is irrational. Not every boundary is selfish. Not every discomfort should be ignored. Your intuition exists for a reason. For too long, you were taught to override it in order to maintain emotional peace. But peace built on self-betrayal is not peace at all. It is surrender. And the manipulator fears one thing more than anything else: a person who no longer seeks permission to exist authentically. Because once you stop explaining yourself endlessly, once you stop apologizing for your boundaries, once you stop needing them to validate your reality, their control begins dying. This is why many manipulators become colder when you heal. Your awakening threatens the system that once benefited them. But understand this clearly. You are not responsible for carrying relationships that require your self-destruction to survive. Read that again. Some people only love the version of you they can control, and when you finally become honest, independent, emotionally aware, and grounded in your truth, they may call you selfish, distant, difficult, or changed, but what they truly mean is this: you no longer obey the role I created for you. And that is the beginning of liberation. Not becoming cruel, not becoming emotionless, but becoming conscious. Because conscious people are difficult to manipulate. They notice patterns. They trust their instincts. They understand that love without freedom is not love. It is possession wearing the mask of affection. So if this video found you at the right moment in your life, let this be the reminder you needed. You are allowed to protect your mind. You are allowed to question emotional confusion. You are allowed to walk away from people who make you feel invisible inside your own life. And perhaps the greatest act of self-respect is this: choosing to stop shrinking yourself just to keep someone else comfortable. Because the day you reconnect with your own truth is the day the silent manipulator can no longer control you. And maybe that is why awakening feels so lonely at first. Not because you are losing yourself, but because, for the very first time in a long time, you are finally finding yourself again.